What a beautiful view, man. Look at that into the water out there. There ain't nothing anywhere. Look at that. There's some birdies flying over there. Look at the birdies. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I did actually want to discuss something here in Motorfest today because, well, I've actually been seeing a few people talking about this on Discord and different places, but I also want to start this off with the exact question I was thinking about when I was making this video. Do you guys think Motorfest is a downgrade compared to the Crew 2? And the thing is, I'm actually really curious to know what everybody does think because I feel like there's going to be so many mixed opinions on this. One thing I have to admit right now off the bat, though, is we all do know that Motorfest wasn't necessarily a downgrade in every single aspect, right? I mean, there was obviously a lot of great things about it. From we're going to have a really beautiful map, the graphics are absolutely incredible in that game, the physics are going to be better, the car sounds are obviously going to be improved, and there's going to be a lot of nice little changes here and there. But we can also agree that that game did end up going backwards in a couple of different aspects. I mean, heck, I am currently standing on one of the downgrades in the game at the moment, man. The house is in the Crew 2. Now, there currently is, I think, two of them in the game. I don't think the other one that's there in New York is actually available. Although I also heard there was like other ones in other locations on top of these, so there's probably going to be a lot more than actually two of them. But these actually were the main two we had for the Crew 2 game, which I would say is still better than zero. It honestly is a bit surprising to me in Motorfest that there is not a single building that you can own in the game. Like, I understand they were probably aiming at everybody being in the actual, like, Motorfest grounds thing itself, which I kind of get, like, it does make sense, man, but here's the thing. Maybe everybody might want to actually spawn into their own house. I mean, wouldn't that be dope? I even made a video about this a while ago. Like, I was so surprised they didn't even add it. You're telling me with all the special buildings around the map, they could have maybe had one of them be a house or something? On top of that, the funny thing is in the Crew 2, most of the houses that you actually see in the game, which again, there's only two. There's other locations of them, but there's two you can own. Both of them are actually going to be like different types of buildings, but you can see the design of the inside of them, how they're actually looking like a pretty cool house you can walk around in and stuff. You all know how we did obviously get the new Maui Island, right? Why is there not going to be a place to spawn in the Maui Island legitimately anywhere, man? Like, I do know he was talking about something like a Motorfest grounds thing there, like even a smaller location. That way we can actually spawn to the island instead of always spawning to the ground location, or I know you can actually spawn to like the races, I get it. That way it's going to be a faster way to get there, but why not have like another small location on the island somewhere? There's plenty of room in that little island to add it. They could easily have like a small house or something like we had in the Crew 2, or why not add something like a regular Motorfest grounds, again, like a smaller one? Probably would have been kind of dope. I do feel like that's definitely a downgrade. Not having any house whatsoever, everybody has been asking for it, and I seriously do not understand why that isn't a thing. Okay, so the next thing I did want to talk about, and this is probably not going to be all that shocking, but it does have to do with the updates itself. Also, a quick question, by the way, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. What do you think about the updates we had in Year 1 in Motorfest compared to the Crew 2's updates overall? Like, what do y'all think about the updates we had in the Crew 2 when it does come to, like, the overall content we got with them compared to something like Motorfest? We all do know both games are going to be different. I do know, like, the direction of them was different. But I have to admit, though, I had a really good time in most of the new updates they were adding, especially something like the United States City races, man. These were so dang fun, dude. They were super long. You can actually use the touring cars and stuff like that in them. And as you guys can see right here, there is a lot of these races, man. Like, look at all of these they did end up adding. And you know, that's probably going to easily be my second downgrade, at least in Motorfest, compared to the Crew 2. The amount of events we actually got in the game, guys, we can all admit was way higher in this game. We all do know right now that's a really big talk in Motorfest of the overall content in the game and how they're actually adding playlists to the game, but there's not enough stuff to do. We all do know when we actually got updates like, for example, the stories, we all do know there wasn't going to be one of them like how we got a single playlist or something. No, man, there was legit going to be, what, like 5 or 6 in the first one. Now, if there was going to be a single thing I can actually change about the stories in this game, that would probably be down to one simple thing. Let us actually reset these, that way we can play through them again. We all do know we actually got the cars and vanity items, but here's the thing. Let us be able to get money and also followers and stuff like that, and maybe some other things like parts and all that stuff. That way it gives players even more stuff to do. We all do know the replayability thing in most games nowadays tends to be an issue, and that could probably be something that could end up fixing it. I mean, funny thing is, guys, they also had the lucky guy aspect to it, which you're probably going to notice looking at this. There was going to be a total of 16 of these, man. That was legit a different one. I think they added every single week to the game. I could be wrong on that. It's been a really long time. But either way, though, these was actually going to be short things you could do for, guess what? A fun little scavenger hunt you could actually do for money. Imagine having something like this in Motorfest. Now, I understand, yes, the map is smaller, but they could still implement something like this into that game that would keep players occupied. And speaking of being occupied, though, that does actually bring me over to the next thing. Now, I do understand we've all actually talked about the summits, how the rewards are terrible, and we all do know the summits in Motorfest really do need a lot of work. But the thing I actually would like to see in Motorfest that I would say is a downgrade compared to the Crew 2 is the amount of Crew 2 items we actually get in Motorfest. I do understand they're trying to get everybody on like the same pace and all that, like new players, but don't you all agree though, seeing the Crew 2 items always being added into Motorfest, whether it's going to be a main stage or even something like a summit, don't you all think that kind of gets a bit boring? I would probably say a majority of the players in Motorfest probably played the Crew 2 at least. I'd like to say maybe 90%, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, which is probably going to mean they probably have most of the set items that were in the Crew 2. And the reason why I do say this though, and this is also why this is considered to me like a downgrade compared to the Crew 2, is the fact that they're using most of the old items to fill content in that game. Again, most players are probably already going to have most of these items, so what is actually going to be exciting about seeing a car you already gotten, most likely around 2 years ago in a summit? We all do know like the upcoming main stages are all vehicles that we've all probably already gotten, which is probably going to mean it's not going to give any or at least most of the players a reason to really level up the main stage. So if you're looking at something like the summits, players want to do something exciting, maybe something new. If you're looking at the rewards going, okay, well we have all these items already, well, why are they going to be using them again? We actually been seeing a lot of reused items in certain things like the Twitch drops and all that. We saw it in like that big free drive thing that was going on, cars that we've already gotten recently for that matter. Like I understand they're trying to fill things in and actually make it worthwhile, but like look man, you can only reuse the exact same rewards and content over and over before players go, yo, why am I actually even doing this stuff? And that's actually the thing though, a lot of players might end up looking at the rewards in the summit going, okay, I have that, like, why am I even going to bother even logging onto the game when I can go play something else? Because, well, there is nothing actually new for me to go after. Don't y'all think they should probably actually start having new vanities and actually new stuff instead of always recycling the old same rewards from the Crew 2? In my opinion, I really feel like this is a big downgrade. Okay, so heading back over to the activities tab, though there was actually a few more things I did want to talk about. Funny thing is, guys, I'm not going to lie, I could actually talk about the hobbies not being in Motorfest because, well, this was actually going to be a very cool thing they could have added, having all kinds of different things like all kinds of weird underglows or even vehicles and all that with challenges. This could have easily been in that game, so yes, that's going to be a downgrade. And on top of that, we can also talk about something like the lack of events in the game or even like not having any events for Demolition Derby or even Monster Truck for that matter. So yeah, the overall events thing is still going to be a downgrade, having 362 events in this one, around 182 in that one, which is a lot less. The other thing I actually think is a downgrade on top of that, though, is the Live Extreme series. Wouldn't you guys love to have races like this in Motorfest? Now, the funny part is, that is actually technically Grand Races, which is basically the Live Extreme series. I actually think that's where they most likely got this idea from, and that is probably how Grand Races was actually a thing. I would actually love to see these races in the actual game itself, like these events were so dang dope. Now, if you actually want to do a Live Extreme series, well, you are most likely going to have to do Grand Races. So yeah, I would say not seeing these events is also going to be a downgrade. The one last thing I did want to talk about, or actually the second to last thing, is going to be the live battle. Guess what that is? Well, you probably already know. PvP, man. So that's also going to be a downgrade because guess what? Heading over to this dude here. Let me click on this, guys. Yes, you can actually do, check this out here. So you're going to be able to do legit street racing PvP if you want, or something like a mixed type of playlist. So yes, you can actually do single spec PvP. Who would have thought? Funny thing is, that's easily the most requested thing everybody does want on Motorfest. I mean, everybody basically talks about it, but there's one more thing I did want to talk about in this video. Funny thing is, I actually thought about doing a separate video on this, which I still might, but that's going to be the community races. I'm seriously wondering how this was actually added into the Crew 2 but not Motorfest, man. I mean, look at this, guys. People have actually made these races. This is so dang cool. 70 miles on that one, 82 miles. Like, look how dope this is. Legit rallycross made events. Mind you, in Motorfest, there's only 3 rallycross events. In this game, you can actually make your own. Who would have thought? Look at this race. 194 miles, man. Isn't that dope? Like, I feel like players would actually love to make their own races, and Motorfest is such a great place for it. We now have 2 islands in it. There's going to be a ton of different playlists and all that in the game, where the funny thing is how it's actually not a lot of events, but guess what? Everyone's actually talking about having a bigger variety with something like Rallycross, Rally Raid, power boats, airplanes. If you had something like the community races to where players can make them, that would easily solve the issue with most of the events not actually being in the game for certain classes. Players can actually jump in, make the events, make them longer, make them shorter, make like a 30 or 40 mile like rallycross event or something like the ones we see here. 169 mile rallycross event, that's an hour and 35 minutes, bro. That's insane. I would say something like that wouldn't happen in Motorfest because of the map, but there's still easily going to be a lot of potential on that map for community races. Again, guys, I might actually talk about this in a future video because everybody I do know for a fact was like, wait, Motorfest did end up coming out, and now for some reason, why don't we have community races, man? When they added this into the Crew 2, everybody was so dang excited. Motorfest came out, and for some odd reason, it wasn't a thing. But imagine for a second if Motorfest did actually end up releasing with the community races in it, or at least over the past year, they were like, yo, guys, we're going to be adding this. Stay tuned for more information. Like, you guys know how excited everybody would be for real. I just feel like this is easily going to be a downgrade. As I did mention before, there's probably a few more things I can easily add on to this, but I do feel like, guys, I don't want to ramble on about these same issues over and over again. Do let me know what you think about this in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Motorfest being a downgrade compared to the Crew 2? Or at least people are definitely discussing this. And also, you know what the craziest part is? I do feel like everything we have discussed, all the videos I have made, other content creators have made them, all the people talking about stuff in the Discord, on YouTube, on X, and all that stuff, most of this stuff probably could have been added into Motorfest, like the community races, or at least at this point, I feel like some of the features everybody has been asking for should have been added into the game at least up until this point. So that's going to make me end this video with another question. If everybody is truly wanting this stuff, asking for all of it, we all do know it would benefit the game in a lot of ways. The biggest question is, where is it?